Okay, so broadcast is live, and I should share my screen just in a second.
Yeah, so I heard that like I was scrolling through Predator Tracker and you said you were working on the user model spec and the static pages controller spec. So just to know, like, have you finished on the user model spec?
No, I haven't started it yet.
Okay, that's good because like I mean, if you have a look at the pull request queue, there is this pull request called there's this pull request called model refactoring plus model tests. Like that's been pending from a long time, and like I was active before, but I had to like, go on leave. I mean, I had to take some time off, so I was just finishing that pull request up, and that includes like the R spec upgrade for all of the model specs, and then a model refactoring as well. So if you could just leave that alone, I mean,
Okay, cool.
if that's
So
fine.
I will exclude it from the
Yeah,
story in the PT, and I'll focus just on the refactoring of the static page controller.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Thanks a lot.
Okay, cool. I didn't know about it. I was talking to Yaro yesterday, and probably he forgot as well.
Yeah, like
So
I've been away for a long time, so that's
okay, okay, sure.
like I'm just working on that on my screen in the background. So
Okay, cool. So is the pull request with the models refactoring already submitted?
yeah, it's already submitted. I'm just updating it. So
Okay, cool. So I'll just take a look at it and see what's done, so I should know how the refactoring went.
yeah. So
Because
what are
I'm
the problems?
pretty, yeah.
Go on. Go on.
I was going to say that I was pretty new to this project, and the guys told me that it's okay to refactor specs at the beginning, so I could get to know the code base. So I will just review the models and see what's on there.
Yeah. Good. So like I see. I mean, you've done some good changes. Like yeah. So what exactly is the problem you're having? Uh,
Yeah, sure. So at the beginning, I was having problems with build step for static page because I got an advice from Nikita that I should use build step.
okay. Yeah. So
So
yeah, so just to let you know, like the static pages functionality which was built, it like I mean like for the static pages functionality we have like multiple spanning paths. So let's say we have like an ancestry and a children relation. So for example, I'll post you this link on the Agile Ventures main page. So it's like a static page with multiple ancestries. So for that, what I have to do is like I have to set up a particular route system, and then like every time you go to a route, it just checks in the database for that route and then matches it up. So for that, the problem with that is like it requires access to the database. So like in most of the static pages model specs, you'll have seen that to use the ancestry features and test them, you'll need to create the database. I mean, and create the record instead of just building it for it to work. So I mean, I guess you couldn't really understand that pretty much. So I'll just show you an example on my screen here.
just a
Uh,
second.
One minute. So you see here, like we have this nested system like remote pair programming slash pair programming protocol slash GitHub Pong. So this is like this page is like a child, just kind of like what we have in documents and projects. This is kind of like a child of these two, like parent documents, and
Okay.
for this, like what I had done when I was building the static pages system was like I made the path to like match the ancestry. So For that, like if I open up the static pages model here, you see this is how it like fetches the correct path for this like it fetches the correct path for every static page and parses that as well here. So for that it like requires access to the database for creating those ancestor paths. So you see it like either, I mean, when you pass it in a page, something like, let's say if you pass it in GitHub Pong, so what it'll do is it'll either find that it'll find try and find that page in the database, and then it will generate a path based on the ancestors, as you can see here, like self and ancestors dot like it just generates that path using its ancestors. So like that's how it works. So in some cases when you are testing the static page, you might need like to create a database record, but in some other cases you might not. So that's, I was just letting you know. uh, Using build stub might cause some problems, so you might want to replace that with create in those cases, and it should start working then.
You mean that if I understand correctly that I it's not this one is not going to work if I stubbed the child page, right?
Uh, yeah, I mean, like, can you just walk through what you've done right now? Like, I was just giving you an intro because, like, when I heard you are using build stub, so that might cause some problems. So I was just giving you an intro. But now, like, can you walk me through how everything's working? Like, what
Okay,
exactly you
sure.
have done, and
So
what problems you're having, right? So
okay,
that's
yeah, it's pretty much I'm pretty much having some problems with the child page
okay.
getting stubbed because okay, so I've stopped the page and then allowed the page to receive friendly and find and so on, and tests are being working so far. But when I've reached the just a second to find this one. Okay, so when I've reached the page, the page child factory, I think that tests got passed while here was create. But when I added build stopped, then they stopped working. So I
Yeah, so
figured out that I could, because here, as far as I could get this one, here we are actually testing that the ancestry the ancestry value gets assigned to the particular array of pages.
yeah.
So as far as I could understand, it's okay here if we are not really making a call to the database. So we would probably be able to stop the page child and then stop the method that you've used to build the array. Is that correct?
Yeah, so like here's where the problem arises. So I if in the beginning, like if you have a look at my screen,
Okay.
so we use the ancestry variable to set this. Like for this page, we use the ancestry to set this order, like remote pair programming and then pair programming protocols get pong. We use the ancestry variable to set this. All right, and we do like I do this by like calling the self and ancestors method on that, and then just getting the title and reversing it. Now this like we use a gem, I think that's called acts as tree, which allows us to do all this parent child things, like having a parent document and then having sub children and all that. So what this method does is like it just fetches all the records in the database that have that particular parent ID. So when you call page.self and ancestors, it just tries to find, like, I mean, it just traverses up. So first it checks like page.parent ID, and then that is an ancestor, and then it just keeps going up until it reaches a page which does not have any parent, like in this case it's remote pair programming, and then it just combines all of them into an array and returns it. So this obviously like requires some database work, and when you are doing build stub right there in your code, it does not create any databases in the database, like it does not create any records in the database, so that's why it fails. One way you could do this without accessing the database is that you could just stop this method like self and ancestors, because this is like just calling a gem method, and it's not really like if one way to do this would be to like just stop the method on this page to return a particular list of children, uh, or the other way would be to just create the database records in the database.
Okay,
And
so could you probably help me
yeah,
studying it? So, because I was not sure, I have not really read the documentation and the code for the self and ancestors. So it should
yeah,
return an array of objects of the pages, or should
yeah,
return just
yeah.
their.
It like just returns an array of like static pages, and then I just fetch their titles and then reverse them in the particular order that we wanted to.
Okay, sure. So,
If you
I,
like go back, so yeah,
The, then I suppose that this one should work, but it kinda doesn't.
yeah, that's because you don't have a symbol there.
Oh, yeah, just a second to see. So I will
Also,
try this.
the other thing is like the self and ancestors method, that wouldn't work as well because that's not in the correct order that it should return it, right, by the way.
So you
Like,
suggest by switching the order.
yeah, that's because when you return self and ancestors, what it does is like it just first returns the self, and then it goes to the ancestors one by one. Like, do you have any experience with like a binary tree or any kind of tree?
Yeah, sure.
Like, so like when you do like down bottom up traversal on a tree, you just go like from the bottom, and then you slowly try to go
Yeah.
up through the nodes. So that's how it works right here. It just has a period
Okay.
ID column to reference that. So in this case, it
Yeah.
just returns the self first, like the current node first, and then it just goes up one by one through the parents. So for the purposes of the UI, what I would want is like I want the ancestors first, and then slowly it traverses down to the like the page we are on. For that, I had to but the method returns it in the reverse order. So and there is this method called reverse at the end. So which is why you need to like just have the reverse order. So it should be page child and page, and now it should work.
Okay, so I have this problem that it says that it returns just page 2 and not page 3. I mean, it returns just the parent and not the child page.
Okay. So that's return page child. Get show page child to bottom, and then valid session. Expect assigns ancestry to equals this. Alright. Just a minute.
Okay,
Uh,
sure.
uh, so that's the child page. So interesting. Yeah, can you just switch back? Can you just like
Uh, j-
one thing you could do is like just try putting a debugger in the static pages controller, and then just run this spec alone. Like put a debugger in the static pages controller just above the ancestry line. uh,
you mean here?
it's not updated actually. Your screen's lagged out for me. All right, I
Strange.
see that. Yeah, it's I see that now. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then you just run that spec alone, like spec 41. So
You mean by executing the spec itself?
no, like I just want that particular line to be run, not the other specs. I just want like 41 to be run. So like
Okay.
you can just specify colon 41 at the end, like file name and then colon 41.
Okay, sure.
What's your GitHub username, by the way?
Git username.
Yeah, I'll get.
It's betasv. Let
Oh,
me type
okay,
it
yeah,
in
yeah,
the.
yeah. I get it. I get it. I have that.
Okay, sure.
So, like, now what we can do is, I mean, let's just try doing page.self and ancestors. Just try running page there at the rate page.ancestors.
Sorry.
You missed an at the beginning. It should be like it's an instance variable, not a local
Oh,
variable.
at. Okay.
What does that return?
Actually, we could probably call. Is it a page child? Because here parent ID is new.
So like I mean, the one which has a parent ID should be like yes. So is it just one static page? At this
Uh,
moment, like you are inside the controller, so there wouldn't be any page child, by the way.
okay, I'm not
It,
really sure what IDs is it getting, so
yeah,
it's
try that as well. Try doing params, like just I mean, try doing params ID. All right, I think I know what the problem is. Just go back to the spec, by the way. Yeah, just get that. Yeah, that's good. Can you go back to the spec?
yeah.
Uh, think, uh, you can just exit out the debugger. Yeah, so if you scroll up, like on the spec, I mean, to the to around the top maybe, like
Yeah.
so, hold on, it's so laggy. Yeah. So go back to that part. Uh, go back to the spec. Y-
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
I guess my screen share is kind of laggy, but I'm on the spec now.
yeah, I
Do you
see.
see it?
So you see, like before each call, what you are doing is like you are just stubbing out the friendly static page dot friendly dot find and returning the parent page instead of returning the child page, right? So you're just stubbing that out in every call, and that gets carried over to your to your spec as well. So instead of like fetching the page, like fetching the page child from the database, it just fetches the page.
You mean like here on line 18?
Yeah, 18 and 19, what you're doing is like you're just stopping the database call to return the page, which is like the parent, right? uh, but what you want is like the page child should get fetched as the record, right?
Sure, but then some of the other cases won't work, so I guess we should
Yeah.
separate these ones and move them into the cases below.
Instead of
So,
that, maybe would you could do is hold on. Static page.
If I stop this again here in the example itself.
Yeah, I mean, I have to see, but just try that because I'm not sure if this stop gets overwritten or it does not. Like try doing that and then return the page child, like on below line number 43, paste that. You need 44 on the top.
You mean like here?
Yeah, so you can like and return the page child instead of the page.
Okay, so page child. And here as well.
Yeah, here, there as well, and then at the end as well. Um, Although I doubt if this would work because, and also you need to remove the debugger from the controller, static page controller.
Okay, so I will try to run this one.
Yeah, try running that one because I mean, I doubt if the spec would get overwritten or not. So I'm not really sure. That works.
Yeah, that one worked. So
Although, even though it works, I feel like it's made it even more messy. So you know what the problem? Like,
yeah, sure.
I mean, in
Yeah,
here,
it's
what you could do is just replace build stop with a create, and then you could just remove all those stops and everything else. In this case, that's the only thing. Like, if you just try removing like replacing build stop with create, and then you can remove like all these stops. Yeah, you can replace with a create here and on the top as well, not just here. Like at the top, if you scroll up, yeah, and then you can replace everything there with create. The user could be bit stopped, and then you need to
yeah,
remove the stubs on line 17, 18, and 19 as well.
yeah, sure. I would remove them. Yeah, okay, because I don't want to get too much into this, but I'd just like to try to make it stop. But yeah, already it seems like it's getting more complicated
Yeah,
and
that's
so
fine.
on. So I will probably just leave this as creates in the database and forget about all of the steps that I need to do to make this relationship work.
Yeah, like I was wondering I would do like a benchmark one day where I would test factorygirl.create and factorygirl.build stopped and how much performance effect that has. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I might have to do
yeah.
that benchmark one day because
Sure.
in in many cases that's what happens is like I mean I use build stub to make the test faster, but I add in a lot of stubs and everything else because of using build or build stub, whichever one.
Yeah.
And in,
So
in some cases I just prefer use create and then just do that in that way, even though it might cause like a slight performance difference, even though I'm not nobody is sure about that. Like it's just so
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I haven't read any benchmarks about build stub yet, but I will look for some as well because I believe as well that it's not that much of a bigger difference. So
yeah, like
okay,
try
yeah.
that.
So
I'll,
I guess I'll
I'll
stick
actually
to that.
I'll actually try and do the benchmark right now. Let's see that.
Could you share your screen?
I'm sharing my screen, I guess. Oh
I'm
no,
not.
sorry. Yeah, no, I am. Yeah. When stack models start time stack. Alright. So it becomes our stack with code first. Let's see how much time does that take. Ah, even writing a small spec is like this proves how novice I am. Like small spec, so many errors.
Yeah, sure, it's happening
So
from
that's
time to
four.
time.
So that's 4.88 seconds for 1,000 records with create, and then with build stuff, it's 2.36 seconds. So just 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds for 1,000 records, and we like don't really use. I mean, to be honest, we don't even create 1,000 records in all of our tests, maybe. So I'm not like going for build stuff anymore. I would
Yeah.
say. Uh,
Okay, sure.
I mean, like in cases where, in cases where like, I mean, in cases where it's like it's really not required, I'll just use build probably. But for faster tests, I wouldn't like make the tests longer.
Yeah, sure. I probably guess that it gets more in the way when we are using some, I mean, all kinds of instance methods and so on, and they got called and make multiple checks on the database, like when using find, where, and so on. So I guess this will add up to the time in create. But yeah,
Yeah,
it has.
like, to be honest, you just create like how many, like 2 records in your whole test, right? I mean, in the static pages controller request test, you might be just creating maybe 2 or 3 records. So I don't know if like if even if you like if you use create instead of the build stub, how much of a performance difference would that make for? So I
Yeah,
guess
sure.
I mean I would say you just go with create.
Yeah, okay. I will do create for this record. I was just curious if I could make it work with build stuff, but I guess I won't waste more time and will complete it and submit it as a pull request already.
right, let's see this. I'm just trying out 10,000 records. Yeah. So on such large numbers, it's probably much useful. Like 10,000 records on create takes 40 seconds. Here it takes 6 seconds. So
Yeah, yeah, it makes a difference at this scale of
yeah,
numbers.
I guess
Yeah,
10 records. 10 records, it wouldn't do anything. Probably 10
yeah,
records. 10 records. Okay, so with 10 records, create is faster.
yeah, yeah. Sure, yeah. Okay, for yeah, really for two records, it's not a big deal at all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah.
Is there any further help that you would need in anything?
No, no, I guess not. I was just having those because yeah, I saw all the tests working with the create, but I just wanted to make sure that I'm sticking to the best practices and so on, you know. But
Yeah.
you're right, for those small scales, it doesn't make a difference a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in some cases where we are like testing in small methods, like if you see, look at my screen, I'll just show you an example here. So, for example, there is this method in the, I guess, projects model. So here you have a project model where it says like what we do is we just fetch like a member tags. So what we do is we have a list of members and then we get their tags to use in our YouTube functionality. So when you are testing like small methods like this, which do not really depend much, you could just use build stub. Maybe you could like create what you see here. You could create you could build stub. You use build stub run to create a project and a few members, and then just test the method to see if that works or not. In this case, you wouldn't really need create. I mean, it would be better to use build stub in these cases. But however, like in that case, you're using like integration testing a whole controller. So I would say using create and keeping it as original, like as similar to the production as possible would be better to get what I mean.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I understood.
All right, then see you later.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much for your help. Bye bye.
Bye.